My mother demanded I give my master bedroom to my golden child brother and his new wife because newlyweds need more space than single men, in my house that I bought myself. Hey friends! Got a sec? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. It's quick for you, but it really means a lot to us. Alright, let's dive into today's story. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I need to know if I'm going crazy here. I'm Connor, 29M, and I own a house that I bought 3 years ago after saving religiously since I was 22. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, decent backyard in a quiet neighborhood about 40 minutes outside the city. I was proud when I closed on it, especially since I did it entirely on my own without any family help. Let me give you some background because it's relevant. I'm the oldest of 2 sons. My mother Rachel, 54F, had me when she was 25 with my biological father who left when I was 3. She married my stepfather James, 56M, when I was 12, and they had my brother Aiden, 24M, a year later. From the moment Aiden was born, the dynamic in our house shifted dramatically. I don't want to sound bitter, but the favoritism was obvious from the start. When Aiden was born, I went from being Rachel's son to being the built-in babysitter. At 13, I was watching him every day after school while my mother worked. When I turned 16 and got a job at a grocery store, I was expected to contribute to household expenses while saving for college. Meanwhile, every penny was being saved for Aiden's future. When I graduated high school with a 3.8 GPA and got into a good state university, the celebration was muted. My mother said she was proud, but in the same breath reminded me that I needed to take out loans because Aiden will need help with college in 5 years, and we can't afford both. I worked 3 jobs through college: campus library, weekend retail, and summer construction. I graduated with $45,000 in debt, but also with a degree in computer science and a job offer lined up. Meanwhile, Aiden coasted through high school with C's and D's. My mother hired tutors, paid for test prep, and when he barely got into a party school, she threw a massive celebration. She and James paid his full tuition, rent, meal plans, even spending money. When he failed out after 2 years, they paid for him to try community college. When he dropped out of that to find himself, they funded his gap year traveling through Europe. I don't resent Aiden for this. He didn't ask to be the golden child any more than I asked to be the responsible one. But it set a pattern that's continued into our adult lives. 6 months ago, Aiden called me in a panic. He'd just gotten married to his girlfriend Nicole, 23F, after dating for 8 months. The wedding was a small courthouse ceremony because Nicole was about to lose her health insurance and needed to get on Aiden's. They were having trouble finding an affordable place to rent. Apparently, landlords weren't impressed with Aiden's sporadic employment history and Nicole's part-time yoga instructor income. Our mother Rachel immediately called me. Not to ask, to tell me that Aiden and Nicole would be staying with me temporarily while they saved for their own place. "You have that big house all to yourself," she said. "It's the least you can do for your brother." The least I could do. I wanted to remind her of all the times I'd already helped Aiden, lending him money he never paid back, giving him my old car when it got repossessed, covering his phone bill for 6 months when he was between opportunities. But I knew it would fall on deaf ears. Against my better judgment, I agreed. I figured family helps family, and maybe this would be different. Maybe having a wife would make Aiden more responsible. I set clear boundaries. They could have the second largest bedroom, they'd pay $500 a month to help with utilities and groceries, they'd clean up after themselves, and this was temporary. 6 months maximum. The arrangement started fine. Nicole seemed nice enough, though she rarely spoke to me beyond basic pleasantries. She spent most of her time redecorating their room and posting on Instagram about their newlywed bliss and building their dreams together. Aiden picked up a job at a car dealership, claiming he was going to be their top salesman within a month. The red flags started small. They'd use my things without asking. My expensive coffee maker, my tools, my streaming services. They'd eat food I'd specifically bought for my meal prep. Nicole started leaving her yoga equipment all over the living room. Aiden would have friends over without telling me, and I'd come home from work to find strangers in my kitchen. But I kept quiet. It was temporary, I told myself. Just a few more months. Last week, everything changed. My mother came over for what I thought was a regular Sunday dinner. She'd been coming over more frequently since Aiden moved in, always bringing his favorite foods, always fussing over him. I cooked dinner, grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, the works. We were sitting at my dining room table when she put down her fork and announced she had something important to discuss. "Connor," she started, using that tone that immediately put me on edge, "I've been thinking about the living situation here, and I've come to a decision." "A decision? About MY house?" She continued, You need to switch rooms with Aiden and Nicole. The master bedroom has the ensuite bathroom and the walk-in closet. Newlyweds need privacy and space more than single men do. You're just one person, you don't need all that room. I honestly thought she was joking at first. I actually laughed. But her face remained serious, and I realized she meant it. She was sitting in my dining room, eating food I cooked, in the house I bought with my own money, telling me to give up my bedroom. "Mom," I said slowly, "this is my house. I'm already being more than generous letting them stay here for way below market rent. The room assignments are fine as they are." Her face flushed. "Connor, you're being selfish. This is exactly the problem with your generation. No sense of sacrifice for family. When you get married, if you ever get married, you'll understand why couples need their own space. Right now, you're just rattling around in that big room alone. It's wasteful." The "if you ever get married" stung. She'd been making comments about my single status for years, as if my worth as a person was tied to whether I had a partner. Never mind that I'd been focused on my career and financial stability. Never mind that I'd achieved more professionally at 29 than Aiden probably ever would. None of that mattered because I wasn't married. I looked at Aiden, expecting him to shut this down. Surely, he'd recognize how inappropriate this was. Instead, he shrugged and said, "It would be nice to have more space. Nicole's been saying the bathroom situation is difficult, sharing with you and all." They shared the hall bathroom. I rarely used it, preferring my ensuite. This was a manufactured complaint. Nicole finally spoke up, but not in the way I'd hoped. In most cultures, elders make sure younger married couples are comfortable. It's about respecting the sanctity of marriage. The sanctity of marriage? They'd known each other for 8 months and got married for health insurance. James sat quietly through all of this, cutting his chicken into smaller and smaller pieces, saying nothing. I stood up from the table. "The answer is no. This is my house, my rules. The room assignments stay as they are. If that's not acceptable, you're all welcome to leave." My mother launched into a tirade about how I'd always been difficult, how I'd never properly welcomed Aiden into the family. He's my brother, not a guest. How my jealousy of Aiden's happiness was showing. She brought up every perceived slight from the past decade. Missing Aiden's college graduation, I was in the hospital with appendicitis. Not contributing to his Europe trip, I was paying off student loans. Not being enthusiastic enough about his wedding, they told me about it 2 days before it happened. "You've always resented him," she accused. "Ever since he was born, you've been cold and distant. Now when he needs your help, you can't even make this small sacrifice." Small sacrifice? Giving up my master bedroom in my own house is a small sacrifice? Aiden and Nicole excused themselves during her rant, disappearing to their room like teenagers avoiding parental conflict. James finally stood up and quietly said, "Rachel, we should go." As they were leaving, James lingered at the door while my mother stormed to the car. He looked at me and said quietly, "Stand your ground, son. This isn't right." Then he was gone. Since then, it's been a nightmare. Aiden and Nicole barely acknowledge my existence. They've gotten pettier, leaving dishes in the sink, playing music late at night, having loud phone conversations about how unwelcoming I am. Nicole has started rearranging things in the common areas, moving my belongings to make room for her crystals and essential oil diffusers. My mother texts me multiple times a day with articles about family values and the importance of supporting siblings. She's told extended family her version of events, and now I'm getting calls from aunts and uncles about how I'm breaking my mother's heart and destroying family unity. Yesterday was the final straw. I came home to find that Nicole had put my gaming setup, my stress relief after long work days, in the garage because the living room needed to be a peaceful, matrimonial space, and my bachelor toys were disrupting the energy. My own belongings, relegated to the garage, in my own house. I'm done. I'm planning to give them 30 days notice to leave. But the guilt is eating at me. They're family. Aiden is my brother, even if we've never been close. My mother, for all her faults, is still my mother. Am I destroying my family over a bedroom? Or am I finally standing up for myself after years of being treated as less than? Update 1, 2 weeks later. Thank you to everyone who responded to my original post. Your comments gave me the confidence to know I wasn't losing my mind. A lot has happened since then, and I need to share this update because the situation has exploded in ways I never expected. First, I did serve Aiden and Nicole with a formal 30-day notice to vacate. I had it properly drawn up by a lawyer friend to make sure everything was legal and above board. I handed it to them the morning after I found my gaming setup in the garage. Nicole immediately started crying, not sad tears but angry ones. "You're really going to kick out family? Over a bedroom, she shrieked. This is why you're alone, Connor. You're selfish and cold. Aiden's reaction was worse. He looked at me with such disdain and said, You know what? Mom was right about you. You've always been jealous of me. Just because you're miserable doesn't mean you have to make everyone else miserable too. Within an hour, my mother was at my door. But this time, James was with her, and he looked different, determined, maybe even angry. Rachel started her usual guilt trip, but James cut her off. Rachel, enough. Sit down. Everyone sit down. We're having this out right now. We all sat in my living room, my mother and James on one couch, Aiden and Nicole on another, me in my armchair. James stood in the middle like a referee. Connor, James started, tell me exactly how much Aiden and Nicole pay you in rent. $500 a month, I answered. James turned to Aiden. And how much would a 2-bedroom apartment cost you? Aiden mumbled something about $1,500 minimum. So Connor is subsidizing your life by $1,000 a month, and your mother wants him to give up his bedroom too? James's voice was rising. Rachel, do you hear yourself? Do you understand what you're asking? My mother tried to interrupt, but James wasn't done. No, Rachel, you're going to listen for once. Do you know what Connor was doing while we were paying for Aiden's third attempt at college? He was working 60-hour weeks. While we were funding Aiden's trip to Europe, Connor was eating ramen to pay off his student loans. And now, when Connor owns his own house, something he did completely alone, you want to punish him for his success. The room was silent. I'd never heard James speak like this. He continued, I've kept receipts, Rachel. Every penny we've given Aiden over the years. Want to know the total? $93,000. Not including the car we bought him, the insurance we still pay, the cell phone bill. $93,000. And Connor? We gave him a card at graduation. That's it. My mother's face was red. Aiden needed more help. Connor was always so capable. Because he had to be. James shouted. He had to be because you were too busy coddling Aiden to parent Connor. And now you wonder why Connor is successful and Aiden can't hold a job. Aiden stood up, angry. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down, James commanded with such authority that Aiden immediately complied. You're 24 years old. You're married. You're living in your brother's house for a third of what you should be paying, and you have the audacity to complain? To demand his bedroom? What is wrong with you? Nicole tried to interject about newlyweds needing space, but James shut her down. You got married after 8 months for health insurance. Don't lecture us about the sanctity of marriage. Connor has shown you more generosity than you deserve, and you've repaid him with disrespect and entitlement. Then James turned to me, and his expression softened. Connor, I owe you an apology. I should have stood up for you years ago. I let my desire to keep peace with your mother override my responsibility to you as the only father figure in your life. You deserved better. He pulled out his phone and showed something to Aiden and Nicole. These are 3 apartment listings within your budget, all available now. You have 30 days to pick one and move out. And if you're not gone by day 31, I'll personally help Connor move your belongings to the curb. My mother was crying now, accusing James of betraying her, of choosing me over their son. James's response was calm but firm. I'm choosing what's right, Rachel. And if you can't see that, then we have bigger problems than this housing situation. They left after that, James practically dragging my mother out while she sobbed about family betrayal. Aiden and Nicole went to their room without a word. That evening, James called me privately. He told me things I never knew. How he'd tried to make things more equal over the years, but my mother always had excuses. How he'd started a separate savings account because he saw this coming. How he'd watched me struggle and succeed on my own and felt proud but also guilty. I want to help you, Connor. Not because you need it, you've proven you don't, but because it's long overdue. Whatever you need, security cameras, legal help, someone to be here when they move out, I'm here. The next few days were tense. Aiden and Nicole started actually looking for apartments, but they made sure to do it loudly, complaining about prices, locations, and amenities where I could hear. My mother sent me daily texts ranging from guilt trips to outright manipulation. You're tearing this family apart. I'll never forgive you for this. When I'm gone, you'll regret treating your brother this way. But there were also unexpected supporters. My Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister, called after hearing Rachel's version of events. After I told her the truth, she said, "Oh honey, she's doing exactly what our mother did to her. She swore she'd never play favorites, and look at her now." Patricia told me about my mother's childhood, how she was the responsible older child always expected to sacrifice for her younger brother, my Uncle Michael, who was babied and coddled. How my grandmother would take my mother's babysitting money to buy things for Michael. How my mother had moved out at 18 and barely spoke to her family for years. She's recreating her trauma, Connor, just from the opposite side. She's giving Aiden everything she thinks her brother should have had, and treating you how she was treated, not realizing she's perpetuating the cycle. This gave me perspective but didn't make the situation easier. As the 30 days ticked down, more family drama unfolded. Some relatives sided with my mother, others with me. The family was literally picking sides, and it was all over a bedroom in my house. Update 2, 1 month later. The 30 days are up. Aiden and Nicole are gone, but the way it happened was nothing like I expected. 3 days before the deadline, they still hadn't packed anything. They were calling my bluff, confident that family loyalty would make me cave. My mother had been over every day that final week, alternating between crying and screaming, trying to wear me down. On the final day, I arrived at my house with James and a police officer for a civil standby. James had insisted on both being there and bringing law enforcement to prevent any escalation. When we walked in, Aiden and Nicole were sitting on the couch watching TV, not a single box packed. "You're seriously doing this?" Aiden asked, incredulous. "Your 30 days are up," I replied. "Time to go." Nicole immediately started performative sobbing. "We have nowhere to go. We'll be homeless. How can you do this to family?" My mother, who had apparently been waiting in her car outside, burst through the door. "Connor, please. Don't do this. They're not ready. Give them more time." The officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, this is a legal eviction. Please don't interfere." What happened next was surreal. James pulled out his phone and started showing Aiden apartment listings. "This one is available today, $800 a month. This one is $900 with the first month free. This one includes utilities. I found these in 5 minutes. Stop manipulating your brother." Then the truth started coming out. Nicole, in her panic, let slip that they actually had been approved for an apartment 2 weeks ago but turned it down because Connor wouldn't really kick us out. My mother turned to them, shocked. "You had a place." Aiden tried to backtrack, but Nicole, angry now, spilled everything. They had over $4,000 saved because they'd been living essentially free at my house. They just spent a week in Miami for a baby moon. Nicole isn't pregnant, they just wanted a vacation. Aiden had been fired from the car dealership 3 weeks ago for not showing up but hadn't told anyone. The betrayal on my mother's face was something to see. She'd been fighting for them, destroying her relationship with me for them, and they'd been lying to everyone. James took charge of the situation. He gave them 2 options: start packing immediately and be out within 3 hours, or the officer would supervise while we moved their belongings to the curb. They chose to pack. While they scrambled to throw things into garbage bags and suitcases, my mother sat on my couch, looking defeated. For the first time in my life, she looked at me and said, "I'm sorry." Nothing more, but it was a start. As they loaded their car, Aiden turned to me one last time. "You've ruined our relationship. I'll never forgive you for this." I responded, "We never had a relationship, Aiden. We had a dynamic where you took and I gave. That's not a relationship." They drove off to stay with Nicole's parents, who apparently were not happy about the situation. My mother left without another word, and James stayed to help me change the locks. Over the next week, I deep-cleaned my house and reclaimed my space. I moved my gaming setup back to the living room, rearranged everything how I liked it, and finally felt at peace in my own home. But the family drama was far from over. My mother's marriage was fracturing. James had given her an ultimatum: acknowledge the favoritism and get therapy, or he was filing for divorce. He'd already consulted a lawyer and separated their finances. Without James as a buffer and unable to face her own failures, my mother doubled down. She told everyone I had cruelly evicted my brother, that I was heartless and selfish. Some family members bought it, others didn't. The family was split down the middle. Meanwhile, Nicole's father, Robert, reached out to me. He wanted to hear my side because Nicole's story kept changing. When I told him everything, including showing him text messages and the formal eviction notice, he was furious. "We offered to help them with an apartment months ago," he said. "Nicole told us they didn't need help because you were happy to have them. We had no idea they were taking advantage of you like this." Final update, 3 months later. I'm writing this final update from my new house. Yes, new house, but I'm getting ahead of myself. After Aiden and Nicole were evicted, They lasted exactly 2 weeks at Nicole's parents' house before being kicked out for the same entitled behavior. They finally got their own apartment, a one-bedroom in a less desirable part of town, and reality hit them hard. Aiden had to get 2 jobs, warehouse work and food delivery, to make ends meet. Nicole increased her yoga classes and started working at a gym. For the first time in their lives, they were truly responsible for themselves. No safety net, no one to bail them out. The transformation in my family was even more dramatic. My mother, faced with James's divorce ultimatum, finally started therapy. Not couples counseling, individual therapy to address her childhood trauma and how it manifested in her parenting. It took her 2 months to reach out to me again. She asked if we could meet at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown. I agreed but set clear boundaries. 1 hour, public place, and I would leave if she started any guilt trips or manipulation. She looked different, older, tired, but somehow more real than I'd seen her in years. She started by saying, "My therapist says I need to acknowledge what I've done without expecting forgiveness. So I'm here to do that." What followed was the most honest conversation we'd ever had. She admitted to the favoritism, to seeing her brother Michael in Aiden and trying to give him everything she felt Michael deserved but never got. She admitted to seeing herself in me and assuming I didn't need her support because she'd never gotten any. "I was so afraid of becoming my mother that I became something worse," she said. "At least my mother's favoritism was consistent. I gave you responsibility and Aiden privilege, then got angry at both of you for the results." She told me about her therapy sessions, how she was uncovering years of resentment toward her brother, jealousy of his easy life, and how she'd projected all of that onto our relationship. "Every time I gave Aiden something, I was giving it to the brother I resented. Every time I denied you support, I was proving I was stronger than my mother thought. But Connor," she continued, "you were the one who paid the price. You became the parent I needed you to be, not the child you should have been allowed to be. I stole your childhood and then blamed you for being too serious." I didn't forgive her that day. I couldn't. But I told her I was willing to work on rebuilding something new if she continued therapy and respected my boundaries. James and my mother separated for 3 months. During that time, James became the father figure I'd never had. He helped me renovate my house, came over for football games, and even helped me negotiate a promotion at work with his business experience. One evening, he made an announcement that shocked me. "Connor, I've been saving money for years, knowing this day might come. It was supposed to be for a divorce lawyer, but Rachel is doing the work. So instead, I want to help you with a down payment on a bigger house. You've earned it 10 times over." I tried to refuse, but he insisted. "This isn't charity, Connor. This is me finally being the father I should have been. Let me do this." With his help and my own savings, I bought a 4-bedroom house in a better neighborhood. It has a proper home office, a finished basement, and a kitchen that doesn't require updates. It's everything I dreamed of but thought was years away. Aiden found out about the house through social media and reached out. Not in anger, surprisingly, but with what seemed like genuine reflection. He asked if we could meet. Over coffee, he admitted things I never thought I'd hear. "I knew Mom favored me. I knew it was wrong. But I benefited from it, so I never said anything. That makes me complicit." He told me about his struggles over the past months, how being forced to be independent had been terrifying but ultimately necessary. "Nicole and I almost divorced," he admitted. "When the money ran out and reality hit, we realized we barely knew each other. We're in counseling now, actually working on building something real." He apologized for the bedroom situation, for taking advantage of my generosity, for years of entitlement. "I don't expect you to forgive me or to have a relationship with me. But I wanted you to know that I finally get it. You weren't the problem. You never were. We're not close now, but we're working on building something authentic. We meet for coffee once a month, no money talk, no favors, just 2 brothers attempting to know each other for the first time. My mother has been in therapy for 6 months now. The change is remarkable. She's acknowledged her favoritism publicly, apologized to family members she'd turned against me, and is working on building individual relationships with both her sons based on who we are, not who she projected us to be. Last week, she came to see my new house. She brought a housewarming gift, a photo album she'd made of my achievements over the years. Pictures I didn't even know existed. My science fair wins, my college graduation, my first day at my current job, the day I closed on my first house. "These were in my desk drawer," she admitted, hidden away while Aiden's participation trophies were on the mantel. "I'm so sorry, Connor. You achieved all of this not because of me but in spite of me. The least I can do now is celebrate you properly. James and my mother are back together, slowly rebuilding their marriage with a foundation of honesty and accountability. James told me privately that she's like a different person, the woman he fell in love with, but without the baggage that poisoned our family dynamics. The extended family has mostly come around, especially after Aunt Patricia shared stories of our grandmother's favoritism and how it destroyed my mother's relationship with her brother Michael. They haven't spoken in 15 years. Most now see the generational pattern that was broken. Nicole's parents have become unexpected allies. They've invited me to dinner several times, apologizing for their daughter's behavior and praising how I handled everything. Robert even helped me with some repairs on the new house, saying it was the least he could do. As I write this from my new home office, a room that's entirely mine, that no one can demand I give up, I'm reflecting on everything that's happened. That confrontation over a bedroom wasn't really about a bedroom. It was about years of inequality, unaddressed trauma, and toxic family dynamics that needed to be exposed. Standing my ground cost me relationships temporarily but saved them long-term. If I'd given in, if I'd surrendered my bedroom, the pattern would have continued. Aiden would have remained entitled, my mother would have continued her favoritism, and I would have stayed the family doormat. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable dysfunction. My selfishness forced everyone to confront uncomfortable truths. Aiden had to grow up. My mother had to face her trauma. James found his voice. And I finally learned my worth wasn't determined by how much I sacrificed for people who didn't appreciate it. The master bedroom in my old house? It remained mine until the day I sold it. The master bedroom in my new house? That's mine too. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel guilty about taking up space in my own home. To everyone who told me I wasn't wrong, who shared their own stories of family favoritism, who encouraged me to hold firm, thank you. You helped me break a generational cycle that could have continued forever. My family isn't perfect now, but it's real. We're building something based on truth rather than dysfunction, boundaries rather than enmeshment, mutual respect rather than hierarchy. And it all started because I refused to give up my bedroom.